Hello everybody, and welcome to our itty bitty history lecture, where today we're going to be covering the Progressive Era and the question, should the government help its people? During the years of the Progressive Era, the citizens of the United States were struggling with reforming their country's government and economy. Corruption was rampant throughout the country and the people were trying to push through reforms. Some of the more significant reformers were Upton Sinclair, Teddy Roosevelt, and Jane Addams. Upton Sinclair wrote the book The Jungle, which exposed the atrocities behind the meatpacking industry. Originally intended to advance the socialist agenda, this book revealed that the meat was disgusting, with rats, expired meat, and workers' hands and fingers from work accidents mixed in. The workers were underpaid and forced to work through terrible conditions with awful hours and no benefits. After reading the book, the readers were able to push through new legislation, including the Pure Food and Drug Act and the Meat Inspection Act, signed by President Theodore Roosevelt to ensure the meat industry kept the meat conditions safe. Jane Addams was a settlement activist and reformer during the Progressive Era who opened several settlement houses for immigrants coming to the United States. Many immigrants accepted aid from political machines. Government officials who provided aid to the immigrants and infrastructure of cities and states in exchange for money and votes, and when an immigrant refused to pay or vote, they were evicted. These settlement houses were a safer and more secure option for immigrants who struggled for a place to live and wanted to avoid those political machines. Theodore Roosevelt was the 26th President of the United States and a leading progressive reformer. Known as the Trust Buster, he targeted unfair trusts and monopolies that took advantage of their customers by charging unfair prices or restraining trade. He also pushed for the conservation of nature in the United States and set aside over 230 million acres for reserves and national parks. Theodore Roosevelt was also responsible for attacking the political machines under his administration, allowing for immigrants to be able to afford a place to live without fear of a corrupt government official throwing them to the streets. Government aid, good or bad? As shown in this PowerPoint, the U.S. government was indeed a helpful hand during this turning point in our country's history. Led by a progressive reformer, Teddy Roosevelt, the government was necessary to help take major steps on the road to reform. Some individuals were successful on their own, but the reforms would have taken far longer to reach the state and national levels. Included here is a list of citations I used for the images in this PowerPoint.